Welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right in because today we're unpacking a very specific, kind of quiet exhaustion. You know the feeling, right? You might be perfectly fine answering 50 emails, mediating a tense meeting, and keeping your professional face completely together all day long. But then work ends, you pull into your driveway, and the version of you who was supposed to cook dinner, text friends, or, just have a life, they just don't arrive. You walk through the front door and your capacity simply evaporates. Well, today we're mapping exactly why this happens and, more importantly, how to actually get your evenings back. Listen to this powerful sentiment from a recent Wisdom-du-Jour workbook draft because it perfectly captures that heavy, sinking feeling of the disappearance. Work up the usable version of me, and the rest of life got what was left. Wow. It's a profound recognition of a split existence, isn't it? Work gets your patience, your sharp problem-solving, and your empathy. And your personal life, your family, your hobbies, they just get the empty battery. It's a deeply frustrating pattern where you are fully capable during the day, but totally depleted by the time you reach your own home. So you maintain this incredible high-level function during the workday. You're firing off those emails, making complex decisions, and essentially holding the line for everyone else. But then your evening self goes completely silent. You cancel plans, you stare blankly at your phone, and we've all been there, maybe you sit in your parked car a little too long because just the thought of the dog barking or the TV playing feels overwhelmingly loud. Making a simple bowl of pasta suddenly feels like this monumental, impossibly expensive task. You're just left sitting there wondering why your energy completely drops off a cliff.
Okay, real quick, here's our roadmap for today. We're covering 1, the after-work disappearance. 2, triggers that drain us. 3, our protective adaptations. 4, the cost to ourselves. 5, practicing early mastery. And finally, 6, mapping your next step. Let's get into it. Section 1, the after-work disappearance, the loop of losing your evening self. Before we even try to fix anything, it is absolutely crucial that we first validate this deeply human experience. To dismantle this loop without piling on any shame or, heavy medical diagnoses, we're going to look at what Wisdom-du-Jour identifies as the after-work disappearance loop. It's a repeated pattern of self-recognition loss. Basically, your high-functioning daytime capacity fully depletes, leaving your evening self unable to engage, reply, or socialize. The main takeaway here? Taking the shame out of the equation. This isn't laziness, it's not a character flaw. Your brain literally lacks the marginal energy to process another social interaction. You know you care about your people, but the biological energy to actually show it is just gone. Section 2, triggers that drain us. What actually sets off the evening disappearance? We're going to map this out using the Empathy First TAM framework, which stands for Trigger, Adaptation, Cost, and Mastery. Instead of constantly asking what's wrong with me, the TAM framework asks an objectively better sequence of questions. It completely bypasses the guilt trip and treats your energy like a biological budget. What drained you? How did you function anyway? What did it cost? And what is a smaller, earlier next step? It protects your dignity before asking you to take any corrective action. So let's look at the T in TAM, the trigger. The trigger isn't usually some massive, dramatic event like a project failing. No, it's the accumulated, slow burn cost of a demanding day. It's the stacked stimulation from endless Slack notifications, pivoting rapidly between different tasks, and constant social masking. I mean, you are performing competence all day long for your boss, your clients, or your colleagues, and often there is absolutely zero transition time between work mode and life mode. Sometimes the trigger isn't even the evening plan itself, right? The trigger is the simple fact that the plan arrived after your usable margin was already completely spent. Section 3, our protective adaptations, how we manage to keep functioning anyway. This brings us to the A in TAM, adaptation. During the day, you adapted by just pushing through. You held the line, you sounded completely normal on your Zoom calls, and you successfully postponed the crash. But here's the catch. You didn't create new energy. You essentially took out a high-interest loan. You borrowed against your evening to protect your income, your stability, and your professional reputation while you were still on the clock. And by 6 p.m., well, the biological debt collector comes knocking. Going quiet is not proof that your relationship stopped mattering. Disappearing is just your nervous system's desperate attempt to reduce input. From the outside, sure, it looks like avoidance, coldness, or social failure. But internally, your system is literally pulling the fire alarm to find a baseline. Your body is forcefully shutting off non-essential functions to recover from the daytime performance. You are not a bad friend or a bad partner. Your system is simply overloaded and demanding immediate rest. Section 4.
the cost to ourselves, what this pattern takes from us over time.
Now for the C in TAM. The cost almost always lands after work. A disappeared evening, super late replies to friends, constantly canceled plans, a partner who only ever gets the hollowed-out, quiet version of you. But the deepest cost of all is internal. You start losing trust in your own capacity. You start looking at next week's calendar with total dread, instinctively wanting to say no to absolutely everything because you simply don't trust you'll have the energy to actually show up when the time comes.
Left unchecked, this loop turns into a painful identity drift. You start telling yourself these really harsh stories. I am unreliable. I just don't care enough. I used to be someone who could have a life, do dinners, and actually reply to friends. This right here is the real danger. A biological protective shutdown morphs into a story of deep, personal self-attack. You start believing that this exhausted loop is who you fundamentally are. But TAM slows that entirely down. Think of this framework as a circuit breaker. It forces us to pause and map the sequence objectively before we turn a biological lack of energy into a fatal flaw in our personality. We have to separate the sheer exhaustion of navigating a modern workday from our actual identity and our self-worth. Section 5. Practicing early mastery. Redefining what it really means to cope. So, we arrive at the M in the TAM framework. Mastery is absolutely not about forcing a depleted person to just be endlessly available. It's not about trying harder. Mastery is about early recognition. It's about mapping the week earlier. It's intentionally protecting just one transition between work and home. Maybe that literally means sitting in your parked car for 10 minutes in total silence before walking through the front door. It's eating a snack before making a big decision about your evening. It's naming the pattern early so you can send one honest text at 3 p.m. rather than completely ghosting your friends at 7 p.m. You can actually borrow this exact, honest sentence right now to protect your relationships. I am not canceling because I do not care. I am noticing a pattern where the workday uses up my usable version, and I need help reading it earlier instead of hiding it later. How great is that? It explains your needs perfectly, preserves your dignity, and stops the shame spiral before it can even start. It reassures the people you love without demanding energy you simply do not possess. Section 6. Mapping your next step. Let's find that concrete off-ramp. Look, when you are already running on fumes, you do not need some complex, exhausting life overhaul. You need a low-pressure way out. Wisdom-du-Jour's free pattern map takes just 2 minutes. It gives you one plain language pattern summary, helps you pinpoint one likely pressure source, gives you a practical sentence to use with your family or doctor, and lets you pick just one tiny 5 to 10 minute relief action. It's a small, highly tangible bridge back to yourself that doesn't require massive amounts of willpower. The goal of this explainer isn't to diagnose you, it's to finally give you the vocabulary to stop losing your evenings in silence. You've got the framework now. You can see the trigger, the adaptation, the cost, and the path to mastery. So the question I want to leave you with today is this. Will you spend 2 minutes to map your loop today, or will you let the workday keep stealing the absolute best version of your life? Reclaim your transition and bring your usable self back home.